San Antonio Spurs versus Utah Jazz series. It is a series against the young guys versus the old guys again. Um, I really like this Utah team a lot. I think they're very young, but I think they're very talented. They're one of the best young teams in the league. Their stock is rising, in my opinion, for years. I think they're going to be a really difficult team to handle, with especially with the young talent that they have. But they're going up against San Antonio Spurs, who do struggle with a little bit of size. So, but a couple of keys for the Spurs is getting that balance. I would like to say inside outside, get that inside outside balance. They got a couple of good shooters out there. Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Danny Green, Steven Jackson, Gary Neal. They got guys that can shoot the basketball, and also they can go down low to Mr. Fundamental himself, or go to Dewan Bear or Tiago Splitter. So having that balance, I think, is going to be key. Not falling in love with the 3-point jump shot, but also giving the ball down low. Have the offense still run through Tim Duncan. That's going to be huge for them. I think another key for them is going to be defensively. They kind of transition from a really a team that always predicated on defense throughout the years to a team that's one of the best offensive teams, especially with the depth they have on their bench. So that's going to be key for them. That's going to be a really interesting thing to see from that team. And also a third thing I want to say is rest. This might be the deepest team. I think they go too deep at each position, in my opinion. So I think that if they can get the rest, especially from their older guys like Manu and Tim Duncan and Tony Barkley, even though he's a relatively young guy, he's still the old guy on that team. That's something that I really want to see how they handle. And if they could get rest throughout this series, that's what's gonna be interesting for me to see. Go moving on to the Utah Jazz. I think I'd say the Utah Jazz. One of their keys is going to be using your bigs. They have a unique talent of centers slash power forwards, and Enes Kanter, Al Jefferson, Paul Millsap. Also, I think I'm forgetting somebody else. Derek Favors, the young shot blocker. And I think the San Antonio Spurs struggle with size a lot. So if they can go down there, especially with Al Jefferson, who's been a beast lately, down in the low post area, as well as Paul Millsap. Those are the things that I think that they need to take advantage of, in my opinion. Another thing they need to take advantage of is I would say being able to win on their home floor. Utah Jazz have one of the best home court advantages, in my opinion, especially for a young team. You're gonna need that. You're gonna need that home court, even though they're playing three games at home. They got to find a way, if they want to have any chance in the series. They have to win at home. Going on to the road, you don't know what this team is. A lot of these guys don't have playoff experience, so winning at home is going to be key for them. And the players to watch out for, I believe, or the matchup first that I really want to see is going to be it might be that point guard matchup. Devin Harris, a guy who's been through the league, a guy who's been in the playoffs before, against Tony Parker, a guy who you really could have said could have been is actually a serious candidate for the MVP, in my opinion. Tony played phenomenal this season, and those two guys at the point guard position going up against each other is going to be really key. That's going to be the really solid match to go watch it for. I think those guys are going to keep going at it one after one. I think Devin Harris is going to step up to the challenge. Devin Harris is one of the fastest point guards in the league that we have, so that's a real interesting matchup. A couple of key players I want to say is I'll stay for the San Antonio Spurs first. I'll go with Steven Jackson, a guy that is tough, rugged, will defend you, can shoot the outside shot with great precision, great accuracy. That's a guy you don't want to leave open. He can definitely fill it up. He can still score buckets. And I think them getting Steven Jackson in that trade for Richard Jefferson, in my opinion, was huge, and that really made them, I think, a contender for a title. Another player to watch out for is going to be Dewan Blair. Like I said, Dewan Blair is kind of a guy who's a tweener. I mean, he's 6'6", but he's a big body. And like I said, the Utah Jazz have probably the down low presence guys on one team that you could have with size and length. So if he could find a way, just a guy like DeJuan Blair, who's a pit bull down there, loves to get rebounds, loves to bang his body around, get a position to get rebounds, and stop them from getting them second chance points. That's going to be huge as well. And Manu, I think, is going to be another player to watch out for as well. A guy who I think is the spark plug of that team. He comes off the bench, gives you significant minutes, significant production. So hitting that outside shot, getting to the line, setting up other people. The guy who plays that point position kind of. He's a guy that they like to have the ball in his hands to create. So he's going to be definitely a key. Keys for the players to watch out for, basically for Utah, is like I said, Al Jefferson's going to be one. He's a guy I think is kind of going to have like a Zach Randolph type of run, like how Zach had last year. A guy that was a double-double, and they had no answer for him. I want to say Gordon Hayward. I like his game a lot. Like I said, he's young. This is going to be his first playoff run. So I wanted to see how he responds as well. And I think Paul Millsap could be the X factor as well for that team. A guy who can knock down the mid-range shot. A guy who's a phenomenal rebounder. A guy who works every play. Great motor. So that's going to be something to watch out for. I think this series right here, I think the Spurs will win it in 5, but it'll be a lot of hard-fought battles. I don't think that the Spurs will run away with any of the games. Maybe one they'll run away with, but I think that just the matchup of the size, the fact that they have trouble with size, that's going to be something that's really going to bother them. So I think it's going to be a tough-fought series for the San Antonio Spurs. So I got the Spurs in 5. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.